Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another Quick Tech Solutions Thursday night live stream. I'm glad to have you all here. We have about 5 folks here right now. Hopefully a few more will pile in. I was talking to Jeremy a little bit before we went live, and didn't realize we would be contending with the NFL draft tonight, which starts now at 8 o'clock. So anyway, it is what it is, and we are here, and thank you for being here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you can. We'll get to bringing Jeremy on shortly. I just want to welcome everybody here, say hello to a few of you that are here in the chat. Hopefully everybody's doing okay and not being affected by any of that freakish weather that's planning on traveling up the East Coast. So I was watching the news a little while ago and saw like the softball size hail that would hit Texas, and I was like, holy cow. So hope all of you are doing well with that and are not in any harm's way. So a couple of things. We do have Jeremy Leik from the Practical IT channel here with us this evening, and I'm really looking forward. I've been looking forward to this interview. Got some neat questions, and I have a feeling Jeremy's going to have some pretty neat responses based on our chat prior to going live. So it should be a lot of fun. But before we get to bringing Jeremy on, I just want to mention, please feel free, put your comments and questions in the chat. If you have any questions for Jeremy or any comments or anything, share them. But we have probably about close to 15 interview questions. So we're not going to run it like a typical live stream where every once in a while we go back to the chat and see what's going on. We'll take care of the Q&A and address the chat towards the end of the stream. So I hope you guys are okay with that. But that seems to be the format that I've been following with the typical interview style streams since I started them. So anyway, now that we have the housekeeping out of the way, let me just jump over to the chat and say hello to a few of you. So we have David from PE for Doers. Hey, David, thank you for joining. Happy to have you here. TVJ, there we go. Thank you for joining. I was looking at the wrong monitor for a minute. I forgot I'm using StreamYard tonight, not streaming from the actual ATEM. TVJ, thanks for joining. Hey, Joe with Blue Iris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Let's see. Folks are chatting amongst themselves, talking about the NFL draft. Hey, we got Unky Joe's in the house. Unky Joe, greetings. I hope you're doing well, and hope you didn't get any of that horrible hail that I saw. I don't know where you are. I know you're in Texas, but I don't know exactly where. So hopefully that wasn't anywhere near you. And thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Hey, DJ Ware is in the house. Hey, DJ, how are you? Thank you for being here. So, yeah, so we got 7 of you here. We got 5 likes. So do us a favor, smash that like button. And hey, you know what? I'm excited to get started with Jeremy. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now, I'm trying this new feature in StreamYard. They just added custom layouts, and I've only created one, so I hope I don't screw this up, but I'm going to switch over to a custom layout real quick, and then let me bring Jeremy in. There we go. Hey, Jeremy, welcome.
Hey, Tony. Hey, everybody.
How's everybody doing? How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good.
How about yourself?
Hey, guys, I'm doing well. I'm hanging in there. That's all we could do, right?
Absolutely.
So, hey, everybody, just let us know how the audio levels are. Am I coming across loud and clear? Jeremy, is his level okay? Let us know. And then we're gonna kick it off. So, you made it, Jeremy. I know we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it during the stream, but you made it and you've recouped. So I'm glad that you're here and willing to come on the show. So thank you.
I'm glad to talk about this. It was a challenge for sure.
Yeah, that's definite. I can't wait to dive in. So, all right. So here we go. I do have my notes here because I do have quite a few questions for Jeremy. So I don't want to forget any. So if you see me reading off my paper, folks, that's just the way I want to conduct these streams. So Jeremy, can you tell My camera's starting to do that. I think the port on my camera, the HDMI port the out port is starting to mess up. I have to be real careful about not shaking the desk. I noticed that happening during before we got on the pre-show. All right. So anyway, enough babbling. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background. I want to learn, as well as I hope the folks want to learn a little bit more about you, Jeremy, the person, not so much Jeremy I mean, we know Jeremy, the Linux guru, right? That's why we all follow your channel. But tell us a little bit more about your background and what you're like outside of YouTube, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of that insight.
All right. I guess background, I started really messing with computers when I was about 12. The school I was at, the elementary school I was at, offered a half year intro to basic programming. If anybody's old enough to remember basic, with the line numbers and everything. So that kind of piqued my interest. I went to community college after high school and didn't really have a plan or direction other than I wanted to do something with computers. And their academic advisors weren't extremely helpful. So
Right.
at 30, I cut my losses, left my full-time job, went back to school full-time, and got my undergraduate degree in IT with a concentration on networking. And then the fall after I graduated, I was crazy enough to jump into a master's program while working full-time, and picked up a Master of Science with in Information Assurance and Security. They now have renamed that to Information Assurance and Cybersecurity because got to have the buzzwords. Outside of YouTube, I like to spend time with my nieces, but they don't make a lot of time for their old uncle these days. They're 14 and 19, and we all know how teenagers are. I'm trying to focus a little bit more on working on myself. I've been pop free or soda for people in other areas of the country for a month now. I've taken off about 10 pounds, guzzling the water. And I'm hoping the weather will stabilize in the next couple of weeks so I can start getting out walking again. I work my day job as a technology coordinator at a small library, and I've got a small consulting business called It's Fixed. Haha, play on words, you know. Business has been kind of slow since the pandemic, but I've got a couple of ideas to kind of pivot and do something slightly different with it. So, I guess in a nutshell.
Very cool. On your master's degree, I have a master's as well in educational leadership and administration. I'm since retired from the public education sector now, but you're still to a point where you can do that if you wanted to. Do you have to keep, and I know this isn't a question we kind of pre-discussed, but is that particular degree you have now because the time's changing and they renamed it and included cybersecurity in the title? Is that something you have to keep current with continuing ed, or you don't
No.
bother? Or no?
No,
Okay.
they haven't told me I had to do anything further with that. So I feel like I'm in the clear. It's been 11 years since I graduated, so I'm
Okay.
not sure when exactly along the timeline when they renamed that major, but it was definitely interesting. The great thing about the university I went to for my master's, it was an online program. So I got to work with people who were in the military, actively deployed, and all over the country. So it was really quite interesting.
Cool. So, all that said, what drove you to YouTube? What inspired you to become a content creator? I can tell you just real quick that like I had no idea when I decided I was gonna give YouTube a shot what I was getting into when
Right.
I started that 5 or 6 years ago, whatever. So I'm curious to like, did you have a plan? Was it just something you wanted to see? How did it work out? I'm curious to hear what got you driven in this direction.
So I initially made a video in 2014, not knowing what to expect from it, really. And I put it up there, and then shortly after I published that, I started teaching full time at a now defunct vocational college. And I made the mistake, and David has heard this story before. I made the mistake of going to HR because the thought in my head was do everything by the book. And so I made the mistake of going to HR and wanting to make sure it was okay that I published these videos, and stipulated that they were produced on my time, on my equipment, and they weren't directly related to anything in the curriculum. And they tried to stake a claim on any videos that I was going to publish. And so that led to a 3-year hiatus where I didn't publish anything further. But then some things changed, and they relaxed the rules on that a little bit. So I started publishing a few videos, still not getting terribly serious about it. But I stuck outside of the curriculum and focused more on the Linux side of things. And people seem to latch onto my content once I started making videos on Fog Server. I saw an opportunity. The videos that were out there were a little on the older side, so I made one on the then current version of Fog, and to my surprise, those are still my best performing videos on the channel.
I was going to say they're coming full circle again. You're starting to get back into updating and creating new ones for Fog, correct?
Yes, they released a new version this year after about 2 years of recommending using the development version, but they actually released a full updated version. So I saw that as an opportunity to, really go through and update things.
Awesome. You mentioned that you got into teaching. I know you said about 4 or 5 years you did some teaching, or
about 4.5 years.
Does that carry over into your video creation? Like, do you take into consideration when you're creating, like, to try to hit, like, we both know as teachers, you got all kinds of learners out there, right?
Right.
So, like, when you're creating, do you think about that? Or, I mean, how do you approach your videos?
So I think about it more now than when I first started putting videos out. I try to provide extra links in the description to articles that may be covering the same topic, because some people like having the written reference material. And, I've been trying more lately to put, more text overlays on some of my videos. If I'm doing commands and things like that, so that, people don't just have to look at like a terminal screen of me typing commands in, but they can see the actual command in larger text, and, in the hopes that that's going to help. I'm still probably not hitting everything I should be, but, the first several years I was so concerned about learning how to do audio production and video production and editing and all this kind of stuff that, the learning style piece of the puzzle, I didn't really take into consideration as much. And now I'm trying to, bring everything full circle and integrate it more.
Yeah, I try to do that as much as possible, what you're saying. I also try to keep it as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because I try to turn it around and say, like, if I was going to watch this video on this particular topic, how do I want to learn it?
Right.
And I try to deliver it the way and I'm only one learning style, but I try to just keep it as simple as possible and hope for the best. But I want to get off script just for 1 second.
Sure.
And I wanted to mention this in the beginning, and it's even better now because you're on camera with me. I do have to comment on the midweek news. I love that. I love them. Please keep them up, because I know they're helping me stay current on things, or keep my awareness up on things that I probably wouldn't look up myself or
Mm-hmm.
think to look up. But like every week when I watch the damn camera, every week when I watch the midweek news, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah. Even though I might not use that particular thing, it's like it's a way for me just to stay up on things as well. So, and I probably would tend to think that a lot of us who are not deep into the Linux world as you are,
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that you share that stuff with us, because like I said, it's not something I would go look for myself, but
Sure.
like you're bringing it to the forefront for me. So I hope you keep it up. I hope it's something that you enjoy doing, because I know I enjoy watching it. So and I think it's a fabulous idea. It's just a different spin on what you do.
Right.
So
Well, in all honesty, I've got sort of a selfish reason for continuing to do those. Um, they aren't the best performing videos on the channel. I'll be completely upfront on that. But I've always wanted to be able to look back on a year's worth of news, tech news specifically, and see how things have played out. And doing this and putting all the links to the articles in the description is going to allow me to do that. So I'm glad to hear that people are enjoying the midweek news, but I do have an underlying selfish reason for continuing to do those.
well, that's fine. I mean, whatever works for you. But I think what's so cool about that format that you're doing is you bring it up on the screen, you touch on it, you don't belabor it at all. You move boom, boom, boom right onto, you put enough out there just to wet somebody's whistle and make them want to go look. And I
Right.
think that's really an effective approach. So yeah, thank you for that.
Well, and
Um,
I've also taken advantage of the new YouTube podcast feature. So I made that playlist into a podcast, so it will appear on YouTube Music as well.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow. See that I haven't even begun to dive into that. But no, it's good to know. That's awesome. It's funny because I went off script to talk about the midweek news, but the next question actually is talking about staying up to date with the latest, well, actually with the latest developments and trends in the Linux world. So I mean, kind of a segue, but not really. You as Jeremy Leik, the Linux guru in my mind, and DJ Ware as well. How do you guys stay up to date on the latest trends of what's going on in that world?
Well, I create lots of virtual machines. Too many, really, but hey, they're easy to build and destroy. For the better part of 20 years, I've had a grouping of websites that I initially went to daily. Now it's down to maybe 3 times a week. And that's kind of the other selfish reason for doing midweek news, is because I force myself to do that now. So I don't get too out of sequence on things myself. But a lot of it is just reading and practicing the craft, and striving to get better, to know more than I did the day before.
Gotcha. And that's a good rule of thumb to follow. So it works for you, and it works for probably a lot of people. I know that works for me as well. About a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, in one of your live streams, maybe it was a live stream or was it a video response? I don't want to say you did a little bit of a rant, but somebody somebody got you going because they were talking about Linux and like why would somebody want to do, and this misconception and that, oh, there we go again. I'll keep my hands off the desk. This misconception and that misconception about Linux. And do you deal with that a lot, I guess? And I know you addressed it recently. Like I said, it might have been a live stream or maybe a specific video. I don't recall. But do you deal with that a lot? And when you're planning your videos, do you think about, well, what if somebody says this? How am I gonna approach? You know what I mean? How do you deal with the misconceptions? I guess is the basic question.
I I don't run into it a lot. That video was just a response. I happened to see this video another creator
You know
did.
which one I'm talking about.
I do. And I don't know, whatever reason, it just kind of set me off. And it's like, I started as a comment on his channel and I thought, I'm going to make this a video. And I tried to do it in a diplomatic manner. I'm not sure if that completely came across. But you know, there are misconceptions out there, and you know, there are people that still think that there's no software for Linux. And it's true that there's less commercial software for Linux, and
Right.
the people that do put the commercial software out there for Linux, they could update their mindsets a little bit and maybe adopt some, you know, of the universal package formats, Flatpak and Snap and App Image,
Right.
so that the software, they can put it out and it'll run on any Linux distribution. And thus negating the argument that I've heard for 25 years that, oh, there are too many Linux distributions, we can't test all those, and, you know, we'll get backlash if we choose just one, and, you know, on and on and on. But honestly, in my comments section and, you know, private comments to me, I don't get a lot of that.
Good.
And I try hard not to let myself get set off by other people's videos, but that one just, I don't know. There are so many things on that list that I just felt compelled to make a video response, and
No.
I didn't want to use any of his footage or, you know, anything like that. I did put the link in the description, but you know, I didn't want to call anybody out by name or anything like that. But it was a fun little video to make, I guess.
I think you handled yourself perfectly fine in that video. I didn't see anything wrong with the way you went about delivering it, and you were professional and just spoke spoke your piece. I'm sorry that's happening tonight, but anyway, I'll tell you what. I know there are some misconceptions out there. I'm glad you're not dealing with it. I'll tell you one misconception that I always believed, which I'm learning not to be the case, is in order to be good at doing Linux or using Linux, you got to know all the commands. Like you got to memorize all. And you know what? Somebody I'm working at trying to get better and advance my knowledge set, let's say,
Right.
or skill set with it. And that's an overwhelming that misconception could be overwhelming, because like once you get in and you learn this command and you learn that, and you're like, oh, cool, I could do this. And then all of a sudden, oh, but then there's this command, and then there's this, you know, so I've learned that just back down and then kind of go on an as need to know basis.
Right.
And then because when you want to learn how to do something, it's out there. All you got to do is look it up, you know. And so, and I found that approaching it that way and not thinking I got to know all the commands, I got to memorize them, otherwise I'm not going to be able to, you know, live in this world. It's not really the case, and I find myself learning more just doing it as you need to know basis.
Right.
So because that's when I remember it.
Yes.
If I try to
Yes.
like learn the commands and memorize them, then I go, what was that command? What did that do? You know? So any advice for those of us who are, you know, coming from the pro?
I think you're spot on in your approach, because I've been doing Linux for 25 years, and there are still things I don't know. There are things that I've forgotten because I don't use it every day. And you know, like you said, the big thing is learn what you need to know when you need to know it, and if you can, keep some notes. If you're writing a script, put some extra documentation in there. theoretically, code is supposed to be self-documenting. I think that's somewhat of a myth, but it's just one of those things. For instance, I use all three platforms: Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, and there are commands that I don't use daily on Mac OS that I have to look up. And likewise, PowerShell is still something I've done very little with. And I should probably do more just to know more. And,
Right.
it's just one of those things. So there's not enough time in the day, usually.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to replace this camera, I think. Jeez. Or I know it's not the cable, because if I wiggle the cable, I could reproduce the symptoms. So
Gotcha.
I guess it's just getting worn out. But anyway, and based on what you just said, what are some of the benefits of using a Linux-like operating system over the proprietary Mac OS, Windows operating systems? I mean, obviously, from a software standpoint, you touched on earlier, there's probably a little bit more commercial software out there for the proprietary OSs, but there are definitely advantages to, using the Linux operating system, even as with the GUI over it, a desktop with a desktop over it. I mean, so like, what are some of the benefits you could think of, just off the top of your head, a couple?
If you really immerse yourself in it, you will learn more about your computer, because on Windows and Mac OS, it's abstracted away a little bit more. It's free or very inexpensive to acquire. There's no per machine licensing fee or anything like that. You can put it on multiple machines, multiple VMs, and you can break it, fix it. If you can't fix it, reinstall it, and you don't have to worry about reactivation or anything like that. But it's we've come far enough that in our educational system, K-12 and higher ed, that most homework is submitted electronically now. And for my undergraduate and grad school, I was able to do most of my papers. In fact, I think I did all my papers for both degrees in what is now LibreOffice.
Right.
I progressed from StarOffice to OpenOffice to LibreOffice. And if the professors allow you to submit a PDF file, they're not going to know whether it was produced in Microsoft Word or an Adobe product or LibreOffice or which OS you're going to run, unless they really tinker into the details of what software produced that PDF file. And I doubt many professors are doing that.
I was going to say there's probably no.
They've got too many other things they've got to do, grading papers and attendance and this and that and the other thing. I know it's not something I did when I was teaching. So
exactly. I was going to say they're not thinking about that.
Right.
Trust me.
Right.
So anyway, awesome. Probably now might be a good time. I'm seeing we have about 15 new comments. Might be a good time to go to the chat and see what's going on, and then when we come back from there, segue over into the March Daily Challenge
All right.
conversation. All right, so let's see what's happening in the chat. All right. Let me find where we were. Everybody's saying hello to each other. David says this interview is going to be hard hitting. Oh, is this interview going to be hard? No, it's all in good fun. It's all for enjoyment. So, and then Uncle Joe's just saying that the hailstorm missed him. Thank God. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Good
Uncle
deal.
Joe. Yeah. Let's see. I guess we segued right into the conversation. We didn't really wait for the responses, but looks like the audio and video levels are good. So that's it. That's cool. Thank you, David. Ashley, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Hey, hey.
Hey, Ashley.
TVJ says I learned basic in high school and it was good to learn. I'm trying to think what we taught. God, I'm going back now to the 80s. What they were teaching on the Mac, the Mac 2E. Remember the Macintosh 2Es? Jeremy?
Was it the
No.
Apple IIe's?
Apple 2E. Thank you. Apple
Yeah,
2E.
yeah.
I'm trying to think, what was the coding program back then? Was with the little turtle?
Oh,
Going across
logo.
There you
Logo.
go. Yep.
Yep.
Let's see what else we got going on. If there's any questions, talking about the certifications earlier, David's saying the certifications have those continuing ed stuff. Yeah, I guess if you want to keep them current, for sure. I know I had to go while I was employed. I still had to go back to not keep the certification current as much as it was to, we had a tiered pay scale. So to move across the guide as well as up the guide.
Right.
It went back and kept getting more and more credits past the masters. But Joe says, you guys have a good chemistry on camera, good stream. Well, thank you, Joe. Yeah, I was looking forward to this. I knew it would be fun. So
Definitely.
you're doing okay with your voice too, buddy. You sound okay.
I'm trying.
How's it holding up? Is the throat bothering you at all?
I can feel it a little bit, but it's not as bad as it was this morning.
Good, good. Well, we only have another 25. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, here we go. Joe has a question. How do you think AI will affect IT in the near and long term? I'm going to leave that one up to you because it was pointed to you.
Ooh,
How's that?
that's a great question. If you saw the midweek news this week, there is an open source AI out there. I think, for a while we're going to see different AI implementations popping up. And at some point it'll probably follow suit like the car industry and other tech things and consolidate back together in some way. Excuse me. Long term, the sky's the limit. And good things are good if they're in the right hands. But you get them in the wrong hands or people start using them for nefarious purposes and all bets are off. Chat GPT can do so much already. I was feeling nostalgic one day for my time at a Fortune 500 insurance company and writing a little bit of COBOL code, and I had ChatGPT generate a COBOL program, and it's like, well, shoot, I wish I would have had that when I was doing COBOL programming for that short period of time, but because I never could make COBOL work in my head after taking, having exposure to other languages. It was just different enough that it didn't click in my head. But who knows if things are legislated properly, then we might be all right. If they're not, then like I said in midweek news, Skynet, here we come.
Yeah. Well, I think what you said earlier was key. In the hands of nefarious actors presents a problem, and I think it was just on the national news 2 weeks ago about them. Was it legislators want the developers to pull back the reins and stop developing?
Yep.
I mean,
They want a 6-month hiatus on it, and
yeah.
I can't see them doing that because somebody's going to keep developing it in the back room and just not saying anything about it. And nobody wants to fall behind when they're all competing.
Right. Great question, Joe. Let's see. Joe says, have you thought about having this go out on podcast platforms other than YouTube? I'm assuming you're pointing that one to me, Joe, with the interviews regarding the interview style live streams. And No, not really. Something to think about, though. It's a good idea. I'm in that early stages of doing this right now, and it's I think this is what, only the third or fourth maybe that I've done. And I mean, I'm having a good time with it. I know the people that I have on seem to have a good time with it, but how it's being received by the audience and if the viewers are enjoying it, I'm not really. It's too early to tell at this point, but that's a good suggestion to store back there. So let's see what else we got, and then we'll kick back into the show, run a show. I fully agree. David says with that midweek news. Yep, absolutely, 100%. So +1 on the midweek. There you go, Jeremy. So there you go.
I know where my core viewers are.
That's it. This one's for you, Jeremy. Do you keep an offline archive of all of your videos?
I've got most of the videos archived. There are some of the earliest ones that I don't, but I've been slowly reacquiring them, shall we say. I don't want to go on about which means I've taken to reacquire those.
Cool. All right. Well, we do have more comments, but like I said earlier in the beginning of the show, excuse me, we'll come back to them at the end and address a bunch of them at the end. I really want to get into the conversation now of the daily content challenge that you participated in the month of March. My question is, what inspired you to take the challenge on? Was it wanted to see if you can do it? Were you hoping to give the channel a shot? I mean, what made you do something so time intensive?
Well, so on Black Friday last year, I signed up for a course called Project 24, and the daily challenge, daily content challenge, excuse me, was one of their optional pieces of this. My goal going into it was mainly to see if I could actually pull it off and do so while working, and if it would lead to a level of burnout, and if so, how much. So I kind of surprised myself, and I've got to admit that it was probably the most intensive month I've had since finishing grad school.
I can imagine. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you did it. I will say the first 2 weeks you were going strong, and then by the mid third week I see the train starting to chug a little. Yeah, but you made it, and that, I mean, I get hats off to you. Heck, I haven't put a video out in 2 weeks, and I don't think I'm going to get to doing one this week. So, I'm barely struggling to do one a week at this point, and here you were doing 31 straight days.
Yeah.
March 30, 31
well,
days. So
the challenge was laid out so that you wanted to get that many videos. When I actually went back partway through and reread some of the rules, it didn't really matter if you published more than one video a day, and they didn't specify whether it had to be long form content or shorts. So I did kind of cheat a couple times and put out shorts.
right.
But it was a challenge to me, and I made it through, even if I had a couple of cheats in there. So I'm still gonna call it a success as far as testing myself on it.
How difficult was it to come up with the video ideas? And how did you find, like, what did you do to keep yourself motivated to keep going? Like I said, here we go again. Early on, hold on one second.
Please stand by. We are experiencing technical difficulties.
There we go.
Do not adjust your set.
How did you come up with all the content, and how did you what did you do to stay motivated? I mean, I know it was grinding, right?
It
After a while.
was, and yeah, like you said, the second half of the month I really started to feel it. But as far as generating ideas, I went to my news sites a little more often that month. I watched other people's videos to see if there was something that somebody else put out that I could put my own spin on. And, I looked at my old videos too to see if there was something I could easily update just to, get another video out. And, I had attempted to do some batch recording, and that was kind of a failure. I bit off more than I could chew when I was trying to do the batch recording, and topics that I was not as familiar with as I thought. And when I ran into problems, it flustered me to the point where I ended up cheating a little bit. So, but overall, it was a good experience.
Would you would it be would it be safe to say that you didn't have a stack of video ideas lined up going into it, or you did, or
I had some, but not enough to last me through the month,
right?
and that was one of my big takeaways. Is if I were to take this on again, have the ideas ready, have even have some outlines of formats for the videos set up, and then it's less work. It's just sitting down in front of the camera and doing it.
Right.
And yeah, that was the big takeaway there.
Did you find, because of the pressure of having to get content out every day, did you change your editing process? Were you throwing things together quicker, or did it not affect the post production at all?
I was definitely cutting a few corners. I was not using the stinger transitions. I wasn't probably as careful with my edits as I normally am. And I don't make any claims to be the world's best editor by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got a level that I'm comfortable with, and I didn't always hit that level during that month, and I'll be the
Yeah.
first to admit that one.
What like anything unexpected? Any unexpected challenges that you were faced with during this month?
I blew
That
up a couple of
that
VMs, um, which was just a time consuming thing, and since I was on such a time crunch to churn out these videos, I wasn't doing my due diligence and taking snapshots of the VMs like I normally do, and it bit me in the hind parts more than once. But it's I view it as a learning experience at the end of the day, and it was a test to see if I could pull it off, and a test to see where I was with my editing process, and my process of coming up with ideas, and just the whole thing from start to finish. And it's definitely something I will go into. If I do it again, I'll go into with a different mindset.
right? How about viewer response and feedback? Um, was there a lot, and did it help motivate you at all?
uh, I didn't have a huge amount, but I did see some uptick, and you were one of them, and I very much appreciate that. I did see some uptick in a few people that were pretty consistent responding, leaving a comment on my videos, even if it was just something short. and that little bit of encouragement was part of what kept me going, and ke- kept myself in the back of my head saying, winners never quit. And I just tried to convince myself of that as the month wore on, and I was getting more and more tired.
Yeah.
So
Oh, rightfully so, though. You know, a major undertaking. What about like channel? As far as channel growth? By the way, you're approaching. You're almost near that 5,000 subscriber mark.
yeah, I'm at
Uh,
4551, somewhere about
yeah,
that.
yeah. So you'll be crossing that 5K soon, hopefully.
Yeah,
Do you
and
feel did it impact? Did it give the channel that shot in the arm that you were hoping? Did you look at your stats at all?
it didn't give as much of a bump as I was sort of anticipating in the back of my mind.
Okay.
There was definitely a bump. I definitely saw a bump in revenue for the month, and you know, overall, I'm pretty happy. Um, Given the fact that I didn't promote my videos like I normally do.
Right. Right.
That was one of the corners I cut, and in hindsight, I wouldn't do that again. I would promote the heck out of them if I was going to do this again.
Right.
But it's in the moment, it was just one of those things that I caught myself not doing.
How did you balance it all, Jer? How did you balance YouTube, work, personal life, and not walk around like a total zombie the whole month? Especially towards the end. What strategy did you use to balance it?
Well, I think the last 2 weeks of the month I pretty much was a zombie, but well, I'm not married. I'm not in a relationship, so that off the top made things easier than I would anticipate most people who are in a relationship or married. You know, I it was a lot of late nights and early mornings, and pushing myself. Taking 45-minute naps after work, and then pushing harder later. It's just I tried a few different strategies during the month just to keep myself going, and you, you know I wish I would have quit drinking pop the month before that, because once I quit drinking pop and I didn't have as much caffeine in my system, I
Right.
definitely noticed a difference. So, but it needed to happen, and why not stack a bunch of things on top of each other and push yourself all at once? What's the worst that could happen? Don't answer that.
Yeah, I won't answer that. Oh my gosh. All right. So you said before that big word, if I were to do this again, I would, you know, approach it differently. Do you plan to do something like this again, ever?
Well,
And why? No.
YouTube is my life, so um, I'd rather have toys than a girlfriend, I guess. I don't know. It depends on what time of the year that they run this again, if they run it again. If I were given at least 2 weeks notice before it were going to happen, I would double down during that 2 weeks, and get my ideas laid out and get some of the videos outlined, at least, if not, have Chad GBT help me generate some scripts, or a start of a script anyways.
Right.
And if I had some of that in place before I started a challenge, I feel like it would be easier to push through it for the whole month without
Right.
experiencing that bit of burnout that I felt, the end of week 3 especially.
Right. So you've definitely not only met the challenge, but there were some lessons learned along the way for sure. Um, what would you advice then, having gone through it? What advice would you give to another content creator who may be considering doing a challenge like that? If I said to you, if I came to you, or David came to you, or TVJ, or one of us came to you and said, "Hey, I'm going to do this. You know, you did it once before. You know, so what do you think? What would you say to us?
Oh, well,
Be nice."
right off the bat, I'm going to say it's going to be easier for people who are single than people who are in a relationship, whether that's marriage or dating somebody, what have you. If you are one of those people in a relationship, seek the approval of your significant other before you attempt to do this, and whether that means approval up front or the promise of jewelry or a trip or something afterwards. Do what you need to do to maintain your relationship, because YouTube is not worth losing your relationship over. That's the biggest part of the advice I would give. And beyond that, try to have your ideas laid out in advance, and have a list to work from for ideas. And if you can either script out or outline your videos in advance, all the better.
Good advice. Good advice. Um, I think we're moving towards the final question of this conversation, and I thank you for sharing all of this with us. Um, if you had to pick one thing, what was the biggest takeaway out of the entire experience? Like, of all the things I learned, I would do this. I learned that maybe I would do this, have a stack of it. I would approach it. What was the one thing, the biggest takeaway from the whole experience?
The biggest takeaway was just that I could do it. I had my doubts, but I could do it. I set my mind to it. I had to do some convincing at times, but it is a doable goal if you put yourself into it.
And you proved that. And I kudos to you. I
Thank you.
applaud you. And I know the rest of us out there that follow your channel also applaud you for that. So, well, I enjoyed that segment. I enjoyed this segment. I enjoyed the whole show. I enjoyed this segment of the show because I really wanted to hear your answers to these questions. Um, I'm going to share with the audience what I shared with you during the pre-show. I'm not going to take 100% credit for all of the questions. I did come up with a good number of them myself, and um, when I started to reach a point where I wasn't coming up with good creative questions, I turned to AI, and I actually said, um, you know, I used your channel name and I typed it. I forget exactly what I typed in, but I said, give me a list of questions for Jeremy at Practical IT, who participated in, to reflect on a 1 month daily content challenge. And it came back with quite a few good questions. Um, I did have to tweak some, tweak the
Sure.
wording on some to make them appropriate for our conversation. But, you know, I really appreciate you being open to coming on and answering them. So, that said, let's go back to the chat now and see what else everyone is saying, if there's any more questions for you, etc. And then we'll eventually take it to a close. So let's go back and see. Let's see. Unky Joe says Linux is great except for business unless it is small. Then I would recommend Synology in addition to Linux workstations. I have set those up for nonprofits. Works well. Any comments to that? Do you want to respond to that, Jer?
Yeah, it all depends on what line of business it's operating in. And yes, a small business would be well suited for Linux on the server and on workstations. You get larger, and it can be kind of a crapshoot. and I'll admit that. But you know, there are definitely areas in nonprofits. I've used it. You know, for some specific things at the library. I've got a Raspberry Pi doing digital signage,
Right.
but that's kind of a set and forget type of appliance thing. I've also got a virtual machine with Docker going to do Uptime Kuma and a few other things that are helpful for me to just make sure things are ticking along in the background properly.
Right. Very cool. David Grishko, welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Hey,
Let's
David.
see. What else we got going on here? Very comfortable with Linux. However, it gives me flashback to my DOS days. Yes. I love Proxmox. It's wonderful for just about everything. TVJ asks, Jeremy, do you use Docker?
Yes. Probably not as much as I should, but I have I have a virtual machine with Docker installed here in my apartment, with a number of things on, including the Cloudflare tunnels, so I can access some of my stuff out outside of my network, and that works really well. And I do run an instance of Uptime Kuma here for my own stuff as well. So I probably could do more with it, but it's a process.
For sure. Joe says, saw an image today from a teacher who posted a paper the student wrote with Chat GPT, but the student forgot to remove the preamble about I am an LLM and can't do your homework for you.
Oh my.
No comment. Lordy.
I know there was an article a while ago that they had Chat GPT do a medical exam, and it passed it with like a B. So
Wow.
crazy
I
stuff.
know. I mean, I remember the teachers in the middle school where I was working, they were using, there's all kinds of plagiarism
Yep.
sites that, yeah, I mean, anyway. David says, Tony and Jeremy, I think AI will eventually get rid of us all. Just kidding. I'm already coding the defensive software. Here we go. Joe has a question for you. Did you choose the Pink Floyd shirt as a statement piece? As a statement piece.
Oh boy, here we go. I know the rainbow and the woke and all that stuff, and yeah, I chose it because I like Pink Floyd.
There you go. Jeremy, we said we wouldn't talk about this in the live stream, but Jay asked that question, and we're just going to say, use your imagination, Jay.
Is that the nice way of saying I could tell you, but then I'd have to de-life you?
That's it. No comment. I missed the almost daily live streams from the content challenge. It was like live with Regis and Kathy Lee.
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
I want to take a moment and you know, we can all have a little moment of silence because we lost Jerry Springer this
Yes.
week. So you mentioned a talk show, and it's like, oh, I got to mention Jerry Springer. So
79 years old.
rest in peace, Jerry.
They interviewed him at one point, and he said, his own words, it's the stupidest show on television,
Yep.
but people seem to enjoy it, so we'll keep doing it.
Right.
Imagine that.
Oh, it's 27 seasons and almost 5,000 episodes.
Yeah.
It's
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Let's see. TVJ, learned Lyris, ha ha ha. That's an old school mention. I am getting older. Let's see. What's Joe says, here you go, Jeremy. Since you're up for crazy challenges, can I sponsor a 24-hour live stream?
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
if I could, I'd have to rely on some of the other people involved with this stream and see if we could set something like that up. I don't think you can go 24 hours in StreamYard.
I think somebody did that.
Possibly,
somebody did that.
I'd have
and
to.
He brought in a bunch of creators to help pass the time.
If it's possible with StreamYard, then what I'd want to do is I'd want to have a few people lined up that would, pop in and out, whether it's an interview style format like this, or whether it's just kind of shoot the breeze for 30 minutes and but I'm not opposed to taking on something crazy like that. It'd probably have to be a Saturday noon to Sunday noon type of thing, but I could foresee myself doing something silly like that on a weekend sometime.
I'm pretty sure. I know. I think it was Aaron. It might have even been Aaron Parecki. Don't quote me on that, but I think he did something like that about 2 years ago, maybe. I'm not sure. But let's see. Jay's saying how much you offering, and Joe's saying, "Oh, you're into Jay 24 JUA trophy." There you go. That would be cool.
That would be.
Anyway. Let's see, what are we going through here?
Definitely an idea.
We're almost at the end. David's saying he would not try until after he retires from his day gig in February. I know you've been talking about that, David. It'll be here before you know it. It'll be here before you know it.
Absolutely.
There's no way I would try that challenge. I would come on if say Jeremy took it on and wanted to bring people in to help, but I don't think I would host it and try to coordinate it all.
I think I'd be relying on most of the people who are in chat to come on for, an hour at a time during this 24-hour period. I think that would make it interesting more than just watching my bald head moving around on this thing.
Let's see. David says the best professional experience I participated in was creating a major banking platform where the servers were Unix and the workstations were Windows, and making them all play nice in the sandbox. All right.
Easier said than done.
Yeah. What Joe says, this is for you, Jeremy. What is your favorite part about working in the library? Your favorite and least favorite?
My favorite part, since I act as technology coordinator, so I'm doing everything with the servers, the networking. I'm helping patrons that come in. The best thing about it, in my eyes, is just that people appreciate what I do more than almost any other position I've ever been in, and that's really what keeps me going. My least favorite part of it is probably dealing with vendors, and listening to sales pitches. That just, it's not fun.
I can completely understand and empathize with you on that one, because we used to have all the salespeople come in and try to sell us everything. You need this for your program. You need that for this software. Oh, and this. And no, go away.
Right.
I mean, not that it wasn't good stuff. It was sometimes there just wasn't the budget. So why waste the time?
I can totally feel that. Budget is definitely something that is a struggle in a library system. So
yeah, public education in general.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Anyway, Joe says I'll settle for a 24-hour FaceTime call with Jeremy. There you go.
All right. That could work.
I want to talk to the two of you after that 24-hour call finishes. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Where are we going? We're getting to the end here, buddy. You can sleep on camera as long as you're live. Let's just say Blue Iris snoring game. I would be good at that.
Right, right.
So I'm gonna put this one up on the screen for you, Jeremy. You can see it, right?
Oh boy. All right, so I guess I have to tell the story again then.
Go for it.
One of the most unique first dates I ever went on was to a zombie walk, and the woman I went out with, she not only had a hearse, but when we got to Flint, Michigan, this was before the water crisis. When we got to Flint for the zombie walk, she actually did makeup and used a mixture of some sort of it was oatmeal and some sort of a plasticky thing to put on my head to make it look like brains. So it was, like I said, the most interesting first date I've ever been on, and one that I will probably never forget.
I have to ask, was there a second date?
There was not.
Okay.
There was not.
All right. Fair enough.
But live and learn, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Jeremy Haley says hello.
Hi, Haley.
And we are pretty much getting to the end of the chat. So we're pretty much all caught up.
Yes, Joe hit it. Latex. That's what I was
Yep.
struggling to come up with.
He says he has the story memorized, the best ever.
Yeah, he had me going one night with the stories revolving around things that I experienced working for the family funeral home over the years. But that's a whole other.
I'm sure we can do a
Tangent.
whole another. You could probably do a 24-hour live stream just on those stories.
I think I've run through most of them already, but
Oh my Lord. Well, this has been fun, and I want to
Absolutely.
thank you. I want to thank you for coming on and chatting. You know, I was thinking about this as the questions evolved, as we chatted a little bit more this last week and getting ready. It made me kind of put a little bit of a different perspective on these live interview streams. At first, I thought, when I first came up with the idea, I thought, oh, how cool would it be to bring other tech creators, other tech content creators on and try to get a conversation going with that person about their niche, like you with the Linux and Willie with the networking and cybersecurity and
Right.
things like that, right? And I didn't, but after planning, as this one started to take shape as it got closer, I started to realize maybe that's not the angle to go with, and the angle might be show the viewers a little bit different side of the content creator that they follow. I mean, if they want to go out and learn the tech stuff from you, they're going to go, right?
Right.
So why do we have to get online together and have an interview where we're talking, strictly tech stuff? Like, how about let's learn a little bit about the content behind the scenes, the content creator, a little bit about them more personally, just, whatever that person feels comfortable divulging, obviously, without getting crazy. But I thought that might be a good avenue to pursue these live interviews moving forward, rather than just, talking completely tech when we're on them.
Right.
Just give the viewers something. I don't know. I'm going to throw it out to the chat. What do you guys think about that? What are your thoughts on what I just said, Jeremy? I mean, does that make sense? Or
yeah, definitely. Because
So-
I think we all have a side of us that's not seen normally on our YouTube content.
Yeah.
I don't generally talk about my educational background and things of that nature, or date myself to when I started dabbling with computers,
Right.
1986. um, you,
Yeah,
you know,
same here.
it's actually it's probably a little earlier than that. But yeah, I think hobbies and other interests besides tech and YouTube, I think is a worthy angle to take, because people may not ever know that side of a person, you know,
Right.
depending on how much they want to divulge, like you were saying.
So anyway, thank you. I appreciate that. Just let me look at the chat one last thing, see if there's anything. Um, Joe is asking, you mentioned Jeremy, why Jeremy, you never mentioned why Jeremy almost didn't make the stream. Sick? I don't remember saying that Jeremy almost didn't make the stream. I know, unless you're basing that off of, I asked him about his throat. Um, I had noticed during the midweek news this week that Jeremy sounded a little, I thought, sick. You know, that's it, his voice sounded different to me, like he was coming down with something. I didn't say anything to him. I figured if he wasn't up to the task tonight, he would let me know. He texted me or signaled me earlier and made me aware. Well, go ahead. You could share, Jeremy, what
Yeah,
you
I
said to
just
me.
let you know that my voice was sounding a little off, at least to my ear. And I just wanted to make you aware, and so that we could adjust audio levels if we needed to, and things of that nature. But like I said in the text, the show must go on, like Freddie Mercury used to sing back in the day. I
Yep.
guess I'm dating myself even more now. Uh, didn't he pass away like 30 years ago this year?
Was it 30?
Wasn't it 93? I was thinking.
Huh. Well, I'm going to look that up real quick. Hold on.
I was thinking it was the year after I graduated high school. Maybe it was 94. I could be off a year or two.
Um, I'm looking. Death of Freddie Mercury. We got sick in 1982, diagnosed heavily in 1987. Um, 31 years ago,
31 years
1991.
ago.
Yep.
So it was the year that I graduated high school then. I wasn't too far off. I'll claim margin of error on that one.
That's all right. You're allowed. Let's see. Joe's saying, I like the style. You should call the series The YouTuber Behind the Scenes or The YouTuber Unfurled. Let's see. How about some interesting events that took place while we tried and possibly failed while creating a video? Yeah, that would be a good
Yeah.
topic or a good angle. I'm sure we could all share some.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
Thanks for joining. We're probably getting very close to wrapping it up, but I appreciate you stopping in. It was a nice stream. It was a good stream. We had a lot of fun. We talked about a lot of different things. We chatted about the March Daily Content Publishing Challenge that Jeremy participated in. So if you get a chance, watch the replay. I think you'll enjoy it. Once had a neighbor's house that was in flames. Okay. Did you
My
do that,
neighbor,
David?
my neighbor across the street, somebody had their van parked in the driveway and poured gasoline in the carburetor, blew the van up, and set the house on fire.
Oh my God. Jeez.
It was quite the happening.
Oh, brother. Interview style and content are great. Getting to know the person is good. Yeah, like I said, I was thinking about that, and I'm like, you know what? If I want to go and watch a content creator's video about technology, I'll go watch their video. But this is just a different angle. So maybe we'll see. Keep going. Uh, oh, I don't know, Joe. You know me when I sometimes I don't realize what I say in the streams. I'm always good for a couple of those. So I'll have to watch it back and see what I said. But Yes, Jeremy is alive and well and kicking. I think when I said you made it, you survived, I was referring to the content challenge, Joe. It just so happens that he's not feeling, he's a little under the weather this week, but I was referring to that he survived the content challenge. I think that's what you might have interpreted as him not feeling well. I don't know. I got to go back and look now.
Yeah, these doggone allergies and the crazy hot cold weather we've been having the past several
Yeah.
weeks hasn't helped the cause.
All right. So, and then Catherine Joe says my PC is working perfectly. Let's see how many people pick up on that one. I know Catherine knows exactly what we're talking about. All right. On that note, Jeremy, I'm gonna bring this to a close. Any final comments? Do you want to share what's coming up with the channel? What do we have to look forward to moving forward?
Well, I know he's not in the chat tonight, but I wanted to give a shout out to Willie. I've got my bourbon here, Quiet Man bourbon. I didn't open it tonight, but that's all right. Coming up, I am going to be doing a video on Wazoo, which is a security software suite.
Cool.
So that originally I had planned it for tomorrow. It's not going to happen tomorrow, so it might be Saturday. But that's one of the big things that is coming up. And I know Mr. Willie said that it's also on his list of videos. So hopefully our videos will be complimentary. I'm not traveling this weekend because of mainly my voice and the allergy stuff going on. So there will be a live stream on Sunday at 12:30, my normal time. So those are the two immediate things happening.
Very cool. All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to say to you, thank you once again. I
You're very
enjoyed
welcome.
this thoroughly. Hopefully, we can do this again in the future.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask that when I take you off camera and put you back in the StreamYard studio, hang out once I shut the stream down, and we could just kind of chat and debrief for a few minutes and
Sure.
reflect. So, thank you once again. I appreciate you. I learn a lot from you. Growing my Linux skills because of you. Hey, do you want to talk about the course? Is that something that's in the works, or is that tabled for now?
It's in the works.
Okay.
For anybody that's not up to speed, I am working on a Linux course. I'm working on how exactly I want to deliver said course, but I've had to back burner a little bit because my voice has sounded so off to me the last couple of weeks, and more so this week. I didn't want to record with my voice not being 100%. But it's things are coming along with it. It's behind schedule, but you know what doesn't run a little bit behind schedule in the IT world. So it'll happen.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that. So, again, I want to thank you and hang out in the studio, and I'll be there in just a few minutes.
Will do. Bye, everybody.
And there we go. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I did for sure. It was a lot of fun. And put your comments down below if you want to see more of this kind of content, more of these kind of live streams, and we'll see what we can do to keep them going. So I want to thank you all for being here. I will be getting back on the video publishing bandwagon soon. I have another trip coming up this week, so I'll be gone again for another week. Not going to the islands or anything, but I'll be gone for a solid week. So hopefully when I get back second week in May, I'll start to crank out some more content. I finally did get a confirmation from my Synology rep that I will be getting the DS423 Plus to review. and then hopefully the one of the new AI cameras that they have recently released will be coming my way as well once I finish with the 423 and all. So yeah, been super busy with work. So again, I apologize for not getting the weekly content out. I know one takeaway I learned from tonight's stream with Jeremy is never participate in I should never participate in a daily March content or a monthly publishing challenge like Jeremy did. So that's my takeaway. Again, I want to thank you guys all for being here, and hopefully we'll see you guys all in the next stream.